Governor Noem is back from her border trip. She joins us now. Governor Noem, always great to see you on the show. You are taking heat for using South Dakota resources to protect Texas. And of course, the haters are always going to hate. But Governor Noem, the border invasion doesn't just affect Texas. You made that case to the state legislature this week. And it seems to me that the Constitution would never have been ratified in the first place if it was understood that a state could not protect itself against an invasion.
Yes, that's one of the things I wanted my legislature and the people of South Dakota to know, that we're not just facing this invasion at the war zone, that we were fighting the battle here in South Dakota, that the cartels are set up in our tribal areas of the state where I have no jurisdiction, and that what we see Democrats encouraging the president to do is unprecedented. They're encouraging him to federalize our National Guard troops so they would no longer be under our control. And it would be the first time in American history that soldiers would actually be paid and activated to not protect America, to stand down and to sit on the sidelines while an invasion happens. So we need, I believe, and I wanted to encourage my legislature and the people in our state to be united with me and defend our state's rights. It's something that our founders very much believed in. They had faced the atrocities that King George was impacting the colonies with, and it's one of the foundations of that document that we've stood by for so long. So our state's rights will have to continue to be defended, and in the next several months we could see this federal government and Joe Biden take unprecedented action to threaten that.
Governor, we hear a lot in the news about cities like Miami, like Denver, like Los Angeles being affected, New York, of course, being affected by the illegal acts, the invasion happening on our border. We don't hear a lot about what's happening in your state. What is happening in your state?
Yeah, and that really is something I need to really be aggressive about talking about now, because people keep thinking that this invasion is only happening down in Texas and along the border. But we have a cartel presence set up in our state. They are funneling drugs over that southern border through cities such as Denver into these tribal reservations that the Department of Justice is responsible for tribal law enforcement of. For years, I've been advocating and pushing the Department of Justice and the Department of Interior to fully fund law enforcement in these areas, which I, as a state and as a governor, have no jurisdiction. I can sign law enforcement agreements with these tribes, but they're very limited. The responsibility lies with the agreements that were signed by treaty with these Native American communities, and they are living with crime and violence every single day. So the banditos and their affiliates have a presence because they know they're protected there, and from there they are filtering out drugs and human trafficking across the Midwest and the rest of the country.
Governor Noem, as governor, obviously you have a major impact. You have a lot of authority to try to deal with this within your state. But say as vice president, do you think you'd have maybe more authority to handle this issue of illegal immigration globally? I see you smiling, and yes, it was a sly way to get that question in. So
yes,
apologize, but I think it is a question that many people wanted to. I think it's a question that many people want. Even I'm embarrassed. I have to admit, even I'm embarrassed that I went to that length to get that question in, but I think it is a fair question. Please.
Oh, no, I think you're brilliant. It was fun to have it asked a different way. I would just say, I don't know. I get up every day and just try to live a life of significance. I don't ever want to look back at the end of my life and think I could have done more. So I'm in the role I'm in. I know that the Constitution gives governors and states incredible powers, and that our Constitution was signed to give our states the right to stand up and to defend themselves from a corrupt higher power, higher government. And we are facing a corrupt federal government. And I'll do everything I can to protect our freedoms and liberties. I reminded our legislature yesterday that just in the last several years, we've seen the federal government try to take away our freedom of assembly, our freedom of religion, our freedom of speech, and now they want to threaten our state's rights. We will continue in South Dakota to stand for those freedoms, even if we do get extra prosecuted and persecuted by the left and the liberals and the federal government. We will continue to defend that Constitution. It's the only thing that's kept us free.
You know, Governor Noem, the open borders left loves to talk about the morality card. You know, how dare the border be closed? How dare what we do to illegal immigrants? But what about the morality on the other side as it relates to the fentanyl coming across the border, or the human trafficking, on and on? I know your faith is extremely important to you. How do you see this in moral terms, in spiritual terms, if you will?
And that's one of the reasons I've been to the border so many times, is I really believe that what you see with your eyes, you carry in your heart. And the older I get, the more empathy I get for people, the more compassionate I get. The more hard things people go through, I think the more it gives you a heart for other people who've gone through hard things. So, I was standing there last Friday watching a mother from Nicaragua who put her daughter in a very dangerous situation, a 6-year-old who'd almost just drowned in the Rio Grande. And they had just gotten across, but they were being hosted by a man who was a member of the cartels that was from Venezuela. They met up with other people from Peru to come into our country illegally. And she had been told in Nicaragua to come to America because it was open, that there was opportunity there. And then she fell into the hands of these cartels that she said she suffered incredible abuses of in Mexico for several months before they pushed her and forced her across that river, risking her life and her daughter's. And that's one of the things that the Texas National Guard told me when I was there, is that at times they changed from calling this Operation Lone Star to Operation Lazarus, because the cartels are pushing so many people into the river that all they can do is go and rescue people and give them CPR and bring them back to life, because these immigrants can't swim. And while they're diverted, and while the Texas National Guard, the Border Patrol's attention is diverted, saving lives, the cartels are just a mile or two down the river pushing their drugs and human trafficked individuals across the border without resistance, because we've got our focus somewhere else. So it's very much vulnerable people from other countries that are getting the message that it's open, now is the time to come, and they fall into the hands of these evil people. And Joe Biden is allowing that to happen. So regardless, people have to come here correctly. They have to get the right message from our federal government that this country still follows its laws. If you want to come here, you have to come here correctly. We will not put you in those dangerous situations, but we have to follow our laws. And this president could do that today, and that mother would have never been in that situation. The policies the president is embracing are inhumane, and it's a horrible thing for him to continue to do.
Governor Noem, we appreciate your time. Always good to talk to you. I apologize, but I had to ask. Next time I see you, I'm going to give you a big old hug, I promise.
You're good. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks,
All right, we'll talk soon. Coming up, Joe Biden finally visits the